Hey everyone, we'll get started in just a minute. I want to give a few people a little extra time to join us. So hang on there for another minute. Well, okay, let's go ahead and get started. Looks like a good amount of people are already signed in. Hi, I'm Penny Redford. I'm the Climate Change and Resilience Manager for the City of West Palm Beach. And welcome to our Friendly Friday lunch program. You know, actually, we don't even have a name for this program. So if you've got any ideas, drop it in the chat box. We'd be happy to come up with a real name for this. Well, this week is National Drive Electric Week. And typically we would have an in-person event, a rally of EV owners and people who are interested in EVs that, you know, could learn more and look at them. But, you know, 2020 has been anything except typical. So we are here in a virtual setting today, but I have some very exciting news. Da, 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 da. We are partnering with FPL to purchase 5 all-electric activity buses. Look how beautiful they are. They're going to be arriving soon, our first 2 buses. And I've got some great knowledgeable folks that are going to be presenting along with me today from FPL, our partner, and from Lion Electric, the manufacturer of the bus. Elaine is going to be monitoring the chat box, so please drop in, you know, any comments or questions, and we'll have plenty of time to get to those at the end of the program. So let me go back to the buses. These are not just electric buses, although that's fabulous, right? But it's also a pilot project. So in addition to like a normal electric vehicle taking energy off of the grid into the battery, driving around using that as its fuel, these buses are also going to be testing having the energy in the battery and moving it back to the grid, the electric grid, as needed. So Anush from FPL is going to give you a little more information about that in a moment. But I mentioned that these are activity buses. Well, they're built as school buses, but we're not using them as school buses. Our Parks and Recreation Department is going to be using them. These are their buses, and they will be picking children up from school, taking them to after-school programs. They'll be using them for field trips and other activities during their spring, summer, winter break camps. They could be using them for transporting seniors to some of our senior programs. So really any kind of field trips, any kind of transportation needs that the community centers in West Palm Beach have, these buses are going to be available for them. They're going to be located at Howard Park and Gaines Park. So you may see some charging stations there. And if you wanted to take a look at the buses, once they come in, that's where they'll be parked. Well, electric buses, right? Why am I so excited about electric buses? Well, look, they're beautiful. They're brand new. and they're so quiet. I mean, you just don't hear anything. And that's going to be really beneficial. So the kids are not going to be having to, holler over any noise, or the bus driver either. They're also healthier. They do not spew any gas or diesel fumes that smell so bad and pollute the air. They run off of all electricity, so there's none of that. And of course, if you don't have those kinds of fumes, that kind of pollution, then you're not contributing to the greenhouse gas emissions. So this is a much cleaner bus for our environment. So that's healthier for the earth as well. And then another really great benefit that you might not think about is that there's less maintenance. There's no oil change, there's no transmission fluid. I'm not a car geek, okay, but I know that much about it. So they're not out of maintenance, out of service doing maintenance. So that just means they're available more often. Well, that's a quick overview of our fabulous buses. They're going to be coming in, 2 of them later this month, and you'll be hearing about that from the city. But now let's just get into some details. So Anush from FPL, please take it away.
All right, thanks, Penny. I'm going to share my screen now, and we can start to go through some of the exciting things that are happening in the EV space, as well as touch a little bit more on the buses. So let's just make sure everybody, all right, so you guys can see that?
Yes,
great.
we can.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, my name is Anush Choksi. I work for Florida Power and Light. I'm one of the project directors on FPL's development team, specifically focused on e-mobility. So again, this is a great week. It's National Drive Electric Week. And so we thought it would be really great to host a Charge Up. I don't know, Penny, if that's a good name for what we're calling this, but we thought it'd be great to have all of you and share some of the exciting things that are going on in the EV space. And Penny just shared a really exciting thing that is not too common. But one thing that we want to look at here, and I'll kind of dive right in, is that, a lot of the experts are wondering, will the EV revolution happen as fast as the automobile revolution, right? So you can see on the picture on the left, there were, very few cars. I don't know if you can spot the car in that picture. And then just 13 years later, now where can you actually spot the horse and buggy? And so many think, including us, that this will certainly occur with EVs, and if not even faster. Another exciting thing is that there's many new models of EVs that are coming out into the space, and automakers are continuously announcing new models, and some are even going exclusively electric. But there's a lot of cool models that are out there, and so the decision to switch to EV, really has never been easier. In Florida specifically, I think that's where it gets even more exciting, right? Florida is the #2 EV state in the country, despite no sort of state policies, no emission mandates. Floridians just love driving EVs for a variety of reasons. They're fun to drive. They're great for the environment. Penny brought up that, they're really low cost. The average EV has about 20 moving parts, and a gas-powered EV or a gas-powered vehicle, conventional vehicle, has over 2,000 moving parts, right? So just with that statement alone, there's certainly less maintenance and a lot less of those complex parts that Penny was alluding to, like the fuel injectors, the exhaust systems, the complex transmissions, etc. And EVs in Florida have doubled over the last 3 years, and we expect that growth to continue. But even with that said, EVs are only 0.35% of the registered vehicles in Florida. And what's even maybe more shocking is that, for a fleet of 60,000 EVs, we only have about 1,400 level 2 chargers and subsequently even less DC fast chargers installed in Florida. So that's where FPL wants to become engaged and certainly try to help promote adoption by putting out some more charging infrastructure. Because let's face it, there's definitely a synergy there where the electric company can help provide electricity. So With that said, we're executing pilots to help us learn ahead of mass adoption, right? So we launched the FPL Evolution pilot in 2019 to help accelerate transportation. And we're installing over 1,000 charge ports throughout our service area at workplaces, destinations, urban and residential segments. And that's nearly going to double the amount of charging stations that are going to be in Florida just by doing, that little bit there. And you can see on the right some really great pictures, and I'll share some more in a moment. We're also looking at highway expansion. I mean, we know that most charging is going to occur at home or at work or around public areas, but you really need the highways to enable long distance travel and get rid of some of those barriers like range anxiety. And then we're partnering with folks like the city of West Palm Beach on electric school buses. So I'll get into that. In terms of level 2 installations, you can see that, these are what our level 2 installations look like. We have a really great partner, cutting edge technology, ChargePoint, that allows us to deploy these charging stations and really provide really reliable charging infrastructure for our visitors and our customers and those EV drivers that are usually utilizing these stations. And these stations are constantly being used. These are some of the ones that are just here in our backyard, but on the right, you can see many more. And these are just located in great workplaces or destinations where people spend a few hours can top off their vehicle while they're doing secondary activities. In addition to that, here's some pictures of our fast chargers. So these are our first 4 fast chargers, something to get really excited about. We have on the top left, Midtown, PGA, and Palm Beach Gardens, and then the other 3 are the Florida Turnpike service plazas. So now if you need to go from here to Miami or here to Orlando or even Daytona Beach, you have a place to charge and you can get there, without any issues. And I encourage anyone, the FPL Evolution app, the mobile app is out on the Apple and Google App Store. So you can check that out to see charging locations near you. And then lastly, I'll get in a little more detail on the electric buses. Certainly, the buses, the city of West Palm Beach have good reason to be excited about that. They provide clean, zero emissions transportation for the children, but utilizing the vehicle to grid technology, we're able to actually push back the energy from the buses when they're plugged into their chargers and not being used back to the grid as a grid resource to improve grid resiliency. So you can see that during the normal operations, they're charging, and then when they're plugged in during FPL's times of high usage, the FPL battery can actually dispatch back to the grid. So really a win-win-win for everyone, the children with the better things for the environment, the city of West Palm Beach to have quiet, low maintenance school buses or activity buses, and then for FPL, we're helping the utilization case for these buses to allow for a grid resource. And now I'm going to turn it over to the actual maker of the school buses. They're state-of-the-art manufacturer, dedicated manufacturer of electric school buses, Lion Electric, and I'll turn it over to Richard.
Thank you, Anu, and I appreciate the introduction. Welcome, everybody. My name is Richard Lee. I'm the U.S. Director of Bus Sales at Lion Electric. And today I'm presenting to you electric school bus technology and why a city or a school district would consider EV technology. EV technology is here. It's not a pilot program. It's not a prototype anymore. Currently, there's 3 school bus manufacturers that are creating activity or school bus route vehicles. So when people consider EV to be a pilot program in terms of overall use, that's no longer true. There's over 400 vehicles in the school bus business market that are operating in the United States at this time. So when we talk about why go electric, why do we want to consider electric vehicles in the school bus and activity marketplace? It's real simple. It's simple technology. Do not overthink it. It's affordable. There's many various grant programs throughout the United States at state and local and federal levels that will provide resources to purchase these type of vehicles. But mostly it's the health benefits that electric vehicles bring to the end users and the community. Young children, older children, You know, they have the opportunity to not worry about the carbon footprint of fossil fuel vehicles that are currently running down the streets of cities. The health impact is huge, and that is the mainstay for electric vehicles. We touched earlier on, Penny touched earlier on the noise. There's a study out there right now that back about 2 years ago that children, when entering the learning centers of the school districts, coming off an electric vehicle, they have a psychological advantage because of the less noise in the mornings when you step into the school. So that's an interesting feature. We also talked about low maintenance. There is approximately 65% less moving parts of an electric vehicle to a diesel fossil fuel platform. All three bus manufacturers that are currently providing vehicles throughout the United States have seen a 80% difference in their maintenance cost of the school districts in general. And I believe we should be, okay. Secondly, energy cost maintenance reduction is a key. When we talk about energy costs, it's the kilowatts per diesel, fossil fuel cost, a tremendous saving. So when we go to the next slide, we should be seeing a all-electric type Lion C, very similar to what West Palm Beach is purchasing at this time. There we go. And one of the things that we need to point out in general is the seat belts. All these vehicles will have safety belts for the children to ride in. All bus manufacturers provide the standard equipment that school bus and activity. The vehicles that are coming down to West Palm Beach are 100-mile range. And with the technology of the V2G and the fast charge, the application is a perfect fit for the activity use that Penny had explained earlier today. Safety is number one. All these vehicles meet all the FMVSS requirements. And along with that, the next slide will show you the vehicle. These vehicles will be in West Palm Beach in approximately 2 weeks. And I look forward to presenting and joining you at West Palm Beach when these vehicles arrive. Now I will turn the conversation back to Penny.
Okay. Well, I think we had a short video about the buses as well. I want to see if that's going to come up.
Yes, give me 1 second.
Okay. And then right after that, we will be taking questions.
Sorry, I have to redo that.
We feel very fortunate to be one of the first districts to have electric buses, and for a lot of reasons. First of all, we look at the economic benefit of doing it. We look at the innovative part of getting these buses on board, and the educational part of it. And every morning when our kids get on these buses, not only are they boarding the bus, but also we're opening their minds. We're opening their minds to innovative thinking, that there's a different way that students can get to school every day.
It's certainly going to lead to more awareness on the part of the kids. They're going to see not only the lessened impact on the environment, as well as the economic benefits that you can gain through renewable energy.
Well, there's much less maintenance. We've learned that our diesels are somewhere between 25 and we've had some up as high as 32 quarts of oil that they need done every 6,000 miles. These obviously don't have anything of that sort whatsoever. The cost of maintenance for that type of stuff is definitely going to be much cheaper.
The aisles wider, seats more comfortable, those are important to our kids. It's much quieter, so our kids don't have to yell to be heard, which makes it for a much more pleasant ride for our driver. So yeah, there's a lot of really really nice things about the electric bus that the driver was proud of.
It's a lot more smoother of a ride. I wouldn't want to go back to the bus I was driving before this one.
I've been here almost 38 years. So we've had gas buses, diesel buses, and propane buses. I breathe the fumes of all those buses, and these electric buses have no fumes.
Okay, fabulous. Well, you can see all of the things we've talked about today are why we are so excited to have electric activity buses coming to the city of West Palm Beach. And now I think we've got a few questions in the chat box. Elaine?
Yes. So Scott asks, are you aware of any incentives in Florida for charging or owning an EV? So FPL, state incentives, etc.
Well, I can start with that, and Anush may want to jump in if I am leaving anything off. But to my knowledge, there are not any state incentives at this time, but there are still some federal tax incentives. So it depends on how many vehicles for the different models are sold by the manufacturer. And so, for example, some may not have a full tax benefit, but if a new vehicle comes out, then they're giving you a fuller tax benefit than one that's been out and are already a lot on the road. There also is a tax credit for home charging stations. And Anush, I don't know if you want to chime in on maybe some more detail with that or not, but I do want to mention that the city of West Palm Beach has free charging stations in the downtown and in our garages, and we're looking to also add more charging stations throughout the city. So a lot of the charging that you can find in municipal areas are free for now. I'm not going to say it's going to be free for always, but we are trying to encourage that early adoption. Try that EV, you're going to love it.
Yeah, and to not really add too much to that, I'll just mention that, we at Florida Power and Light, we don't have anything per se on the vehicle side, but if you do have a location in mind that could benefit from some charging infrastructure, like a business or popular destination with enough traffic to warrant some of these type of infrastructure improvements, then please reach out to us at poevolution@fpl.com.
Okay.
All right. So we did have someone ask a question which was answered throughout our presentation, but I just wanted to bring it up in case anyone did mention it. They asked, who makes the vehicle and what is its maximum mileage?
Yeah, so we just heard from Lion Electric. So they are the manufacturer of the electric school bus, and the range can vary. The bus that you see in front of you here is about 100 miles of range.
Awesome. So are these really the first electric buses in Florida?
Well, as far as we're aware, these are the first electric school buses in Florida. There are some potentially other transit buses, but not school buses. And although we're not using them as school buses, that is what they are. I don't know, Richard or Anush, you haven't heard anything else, have you? We're really still the first, right?
Yes, for this type of vehicle, we are the first in Florida, as far as I know.
That's pretty amazing. I have another question here. Does FPL offer or will they offer off-peak charging rates for charging at home?
Yeah, so we're currently, we're always evaluating different rate structures and that sort of thing. But currently, our rates are the lowest, top or bottom 10 or top 10% in the entire country. And so, where those type of rates may benefit other, states and utilities with different and higher rate structures, ours are already very low. And so it doesn't necessarily, it wouldn't necessarily serve as an advantage.
Okay, I just got a really long one here in the chat box. I'm going to read it off. Pre-COVID, I had been meeting with my high school principal and county transportation department on how to eventually transition our county's school bus fleet to electric, especially starting with the electric school bus grant/program provided by the VW emissions scandal. Do you have any suggestions on who to contact regarding how to work on a similar pilot program in my county?
I can weigh in on that a little bit, if you don't mind. The VW programs are a very aggressive program throughout the United States. Our company, but other companies also have worked with the VW trust people to create these type of programs. So my suggestion would be to contact your local Clean Cities coordinator. They probably have more of a better timeline on when the VW program will be executed in Florida. And they will also have a better idea what type of percent funding will assist in the purchase.
And just to add a little to that, yes, the Florida VW settlement, there are already some solicitations out there. So go to the state of Florida VW settlement. I'll put the link in the chat box. I was just looking it up because I don't know it off the top of my head. But there is a strong push for buses in that VW settlement for the state of Florida.
And also, we will be following up, following this program with a follow-up email that will include a copy of the recording on YouTube from today's presentation, along with all the helpful links that we've mentioned today, or anything that we think of that would be good to include. So we'll definitely be following up with everyone who attended today and provide that information. And another question, Penny, this would be for you. What are West Palm Beach's plans on electrifying its fleet?
Well, we're already working on electrifying our fleet. We were one of the charter members of the Electrification Coalition, signing on to move our fleet for those vehicles that there are electric options for, to away from petroleum by 2025. We have with our passenger vehicles within the city's fleet already, I should have that number. I'm going to say more than 15 all electric vehicles. We also have some plug-in hybrids and some hybrids, and we're really looking forward to having more options for some of the more service-oriented vehicles, the small and medium-sized trucks, because our fleet is really made up more of those types of vehicles. And of course, I'm always looking at, is there something that we can do with some of our police, our non-pursuit vehicles? We've tried some of that. So we are definitely moving toward that direction, and we recognize that, which has already been stated, the maintenance is less expensive, the fuel is less expensive, and something that's really important that people don't think about is that when you don't have to do that maintenance, you are not taking those vehicles out of service, and that can make a big difference in getting all of our work done quicker. So we're on it. please look at our website and sign up for our email, our sustainability email, and we'll keep you posted on further advancements.
And one last question, what happens in the event of a hurricane evacuation? Is there sufficient charging infrastructure for large numbers of EVs all heading north to evacuate? And will they continue to work during nasty storms?
Well, I can start and then let Anush answer, but there are parts of the VW settlement. Part of that is to try and help with that infrastructure and thinking about having those charging stations available so that people can evacuate. And depending upon, of course, the range of your vehicles, then that is, that sort of determines. You still need to plot your route, right? And know where you might need to charge, but that is definitely being considered with the VW settlement. And I know FPL is doing some things too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the locations of many of these chargers are strategically located so that they are along these storm evacuation routes. And if you're in the FPL service area, the restoration times are certainly the lowest that they can be in the event of a hurricane. So we are confident that they will work. The stations will work, and then that there will be plenty of them, especially with the combination of the different network providers in the state between ourselves, ChargePoint, Electrify America, EVgo, and some of these newly developing VW sites.
And Anush, maybe you'd like to mention the level of charging for those sites.
Yeah, so in terms of charging levels, and we didn't go into a lot of details with the different 1, 2, 3 levels, but these sites are going to be level 3 DC fast charge sites. So they're going to have capabilities of charging anywhere from 100 kW all the way up to 350 kW. So the bottom line is that, if you have an EV, FPL is prepared to charge it as fast as possible.
And I think I saw pop up in the chat that the concern is, will there be power to those charging stations?
Yep, we're pretty good at providing the power, so we're always gonna make sure that these stations have power. We've already learned a lot over the years in terms of storm resiliency and hardening, and so all of our stations, not just ours, but anyone that puts a fast charge station in our service area, gets a dedicated transformer to help ensure that any sort of grid impacts and things like that are mitigated.
Okay, great. Well, Elaine, do we have any other questions? It looks like we're bumping up on time right now for our lunchtime program.
We are. So I think there are a couple more, but we can address those in the follow-up email.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone, certainly our presenters today, Elaine, and all of you for joining us. Electric vehicles are the way of the future, and it's not just the future, it's now. I drive an electric vehicle. I know Anush does too, and I love my vehicle. Never go to the gas station. I plug in right at home, and then also at some workplace charging. So if you haven't considered getting an electric vehicle, now's a great time to look into it. As Anush said, there are plenty of options for models, and they're not really more expensive. Well, you can always get more expensive, but just like any other car, there's a wide range of prices for electric vehicles. So take a look, give it a try, and thanks so much for joining us. We've got a lot of other programs, virtual and in person, that are being held through the Sustainability Office for the City of West Palm Beach. Please go to the websites that Elaine has put in the chat. And we're also going to be at the Green Market tomorrow. It's the first Green Market of the season. So please come by and visit and say hi. Thanks again for joining us.